Star Trek. Section 31 is only Starfleet officer doesn't know they're doomed. In Star Trek, Section 31, the long-whispered shadow of the Federation finally gets a spotlight. But among its morally gray agents and ruthless operatives, one character stands out for all the wrong reasons. A true Starfleet officer. Loyal, idealistic, and completely out of place. The tragedy? They don't realize they're already doomed. In a story that blends espionage with existential dread, Section 31's lone Starfleet soul becomes both its conscience and its inevitable casualty, the person who dares to bring light into the shadows, not realizing that light doesn't survive in Section 31. The new movie, headlined by Michelle Yeoh's Philippa Georgiou, has promised to delve deep into the Federation's darkest institution. But beneath its action-packed premise lies something far more haunting. The cost of believing in Starfleet ideals within an organization built on their betrayal. The unnamed Starfleet officer at the heart of the story embodies that conflict, and their arc may reveal why Section 31, as much as it claims to defend the Federation, has always been its greatest enemy. The irony of loyalty. Starfleet officers are raised on the values of exploration, diplomacy, and peaceful problem-solving. They believe in infinite diversity in infinite combinations. They are taught that truth and cooperation are the cornerstones of civilization. Section 31 is the opposite. Secrecy, manipulation, and preemptive strikes define its very existence. So when a Starfleet officer joins Section 31, it's an act of deep irony. Maybe they were recruited under the illusion of serving the greater good. Maybe they saw corruption in the ranks and believed they could fix it from within. Or maybe, as so many Section 31 operatives do, they thought they were saving lives by dirtying their hands. Whatever the motivation, the outcome is inevitable. Section 31 doesn't let idealists leave intact. Starfleet's moral code and Section 31's shadow ethics are incompatible. The former values transparency. The latter thrives on deception. The Starfleet officer's downfall begins the moment they step into that moral void, when their idealism becomes a liability instead of an inspiration. Georgiou's shadow and her mirror. Michelle Yeoh's Philippa Georgiou is the perfect foil for this doomed Starfleet officer. Once an emperor from the Terran Empire, the most brutal regime in the multiverse, Georgiou has already wrestled with moral contradictions. She's seen the best and worst of both universes. In her own words, the Federation may wear white, but it hides plenty of gray beneath. To Georgiou, morality is flexible, a tool of survival. But to this new Starfleet officer, it's sacred. The contrast between them forms the emotional center of Section 31. Georgiou might even see her younger self in this person, not the Emperor, but the Prime Georgiou who died in Discovery's first season, who believed in the Federation's ideals wholeheartedly. That comparison gives their relationship tragic weight. Georgiou, cynical and hardened, knows exactly what happens to good people in Section 31. And yet, she lets the Starfleet officer continue, maybe even encourages them. Not because she believes they'll change the organization, but because she needs to remember what hope looks like. You can't save Section 31. It's easy to imagine the movie's midpoint revolving around this exact line, Georgiou warning the officer that Section 31 can't be saved. The young Starfleet idealist will insist that it can, that the organization can be reshaped into something honorable. Maybe they'll believe that Georgiou herself is proof that redemption is possible. But the tragedy of Section 31 is that it isn't broken. It's functioning exactly as intended. Its evil isn't an accident, it's systemic. It was built that way. The Starfleet officer's journey will likely mirror countless Federation figures who have fallen trying to fix the system, like Admiral Marcus in Star Trek Into Darkness or Sloan from Deep Space Nine. Each of them believed in the same lie, that darkness can be controlled, that moral compromise can be contained. In reality, it consumes them. And in Section 31, that process might be literal, as the movie is rumored to involve genetic augmentation, mirror universe technology, and moral corruption on both physical and psychological levels. The anatomy of doom. If the officer's arc feels doomed from the start, that's because it's a story baked into Star Trek's DNA. Whenever an idealist walks into the shadows, they never come back unchanged. In Deep Space Nine, Dr. Bashir, one of Starfleet's brightest, barely survived his brush with Section 31. He exposed them, yes, but the cost was immense: paranoia, loss of innocence, and a permanent scar on his faith in Starfleet. If Section 31 follows that tradition, then this new officer's fate might be worse. They might die. They might disappear. Or worse, they might become the very thing they swore to fight. That's Section 31's cruelest trick. It doesn't kill you outright. It makes you complicit. It turns good people into tools. By the time you realize it, your fingerprints are already on the weapon. The illusion of control. Section 31 thrives on control, psychological, political, and technological. Every agent thinks they're acting of their own free will, but the organization always has the final word. Imagine the young Starfleet officer learning this too late, discovering that every mission, every order, every so-called victory was orchestrated to serve Section 31's interests. Maybe they saved a world only to learn that Section 31 engineered the crisis in the first place. It's the same nightmare that confronted Michael Burnham and her crew in Discovery. That sometimes doing the right thing still means serving the wrong side. For this officer, the moment of realization could be devastating. The point when they finally see that Section 31 doesn't just operate in the shadows. It is the shadow. And no matter how bright their ideals burn, shadows always win when the light goes out. Georgiou's last lesson. Georgiou's presence ensures that the Starfleet officer's doom will have meaning. Despite her harshness, Georgiou has always been defined by her capacity for growth. Her time in the Prime Universe, among idealists like Burnham and Saru, softened her, not into weakness, but into wisdom. When she watches the Starfleet officer fall, or perhaps sacrifice themselves, it forces Georgiou to confront the very question she's been avoiding. Can anyone truly survive Section 31 with their soul intact? That might be the moment Georgiou decides to leave the organization entirely, setting up her next evolution. If the Section 31 movie is indeed a stepping stone toward her redemption, this doomed officer could be the spark that reignites Georgiou's humanity. Their death or disappearance could remind her why she once believed in the Federation, and why the Federation still needs people like her, even if she'll never be one of them again. The Federation's blind spot. The existence of a loyal Starfleet officer inside Section 31 also highlights a bigger problem: the Federation's willful ignorance. For centuries, Section 31 has operated under Starfleet's nose, sometimes even with its quiet approval. The Federation tells itself that it's not responsible, but its silence is complicity. The Starfleet officer's tragedy, therefore, isn't just personal, it's systemic. They're a symptom of the Federation's hypocrisy, proof that even the most utopian society can't escape its need for dirty work. That tension has always been Star Trek's most haunting theme. The Federation's paradise is built on invisible sacrifices. Section 31 is the institution that makes those sacrifices happen. And when a true believer walks into that machinery, they don't emerge whole. The final betrayal. If Section 31 follows the tradition of Star Trek's best tragedies, it will end with a choice, one that defines both Georgiou and the doomed Starfleet officer.